That is Ryan Clark, that familiar face you're seeing right there, NFL football analyst here at ESPN. Okay, let's start with what we saw on Thursday Night Football last night. I can imagine as a former Steeler, perhaps a little painful, especially considering it came down to the last play of the game. But let's focus in on Chase Claypool because there were some antics, some things that happened last night. What was your reaction to one Chase Claypool?
He's one of the most immature football players I've ever seen. As mature as he is physically, as developed as he is physically, he's that underdeveloped from an emotional and mental level when it comes to the game of football. He had an early personal foul. You go back to the Cincinnati game 2 weeks ago, he gets a personal foul late, follows that up with the drop ball on the next play. And then now you have an opportunity to get your team an extra play, spike the football. We've seen Larry Fitzgerald sprint faster to the referee or the official to hand them the football in the 2-minute drill than he actually did in the route. But for Chase Claypool, it was more important to have his look at me moment. In his post-game press conference, he said, "I did my first down thing." At that point, it was about our first down thing. It was about our opportunity to get an extra play. And he chose himself over the team. And I think it's a microcosm of why the Pittsburgh Steelers are where they are now as opposed to their historic tradition of winning.
RC, me and Shay are listening late night to Coach Tomlin's post-game sound. And he said, we're not only going to assess what we are doing, but who we are doing it with. And we thought that was pretty telling. Can you enlighten us, as being a guy who played for Coach Tomlin, what you think he meant by that?
Coach Tomlin doesn't lie, man. He'd rather not say something, he'd rather not answer you than give you a window into his soul. I used to ask him, hey, Coach T, why are there like so many cliches, you know, the standard is the standard and the different things that you say? And he says, I'm never going to give people a window into my soul that I don't want them to have. That was a window into his soul. That was him saying, you know what? It's not only the way we're approaching these games, it's the people who we are approaching them with. When you get whipped on the line of scrimmage, both defensively and offensively, the way you did yesterday, that's a problem. There's an issue, and that's an issue that needs to be fixed. And it's not one of those things where this guy is getting paid this much or we believe this dude is better. It's one of those things where it isn't working. So they have to get into the film and figure out which guy isn't playing hard, which guy isn't playing smart, which guys aren't giving them opportunities for success. And it's either replace them, coach them better, or find yourself in the same position next week.
RC, there's those rumors swirling that Big Ben is going to retire after this season. Supposedly, he had told guys in the locker room, and inevitably that got out. Watching the first half yesterday, it looked like, yeah, Big Ben, you should probably be out. But in that second half, he showed his ability to compete and still play at the highest of levels. So we don't know for certain if he really is going to retire after this year. But watching him perform last night, do you believe he has more good football beyond this year left in him?
No, I don't. Okay. And I think he should retire. I've said that. But I did underestimate the heart of a champion. I did underestimate the competitiveness of Ben Roethlisberger. When you look at this team, I said early on in the season, for him to be successful, wide receivers are going to have to make 4 to 5 wild catches a game. Chase Claypool, James Washington, those guys, Freiermuth, they made some wild catches last night when he was throwing the ball to the outside. But if you watch this team, the passing game isn't as in-depth because you can't drive the football in between the numbers. And you know that's a huge part of what great quarterbacks can do. He could still compete. He still has the mind of a Hall of Famer, but some of the things that he could do physically are no longer there. And so I think that he has to shut it down. He doesn't have to shut it down. I think that it would be wise of him to shut it down this year, especially when you look at his ability to evade the rush. Every time there was a free rusher, Big Ben was hit and fell like a ton of bricks. You don't want to keep taking those unnecessary hits and that unnecessary punishment when you don't have to. And Big Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have to.
All right, RC, we're not going to let you go without talking about UFC 269 this weekend. So we've got Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira facing off lightweight title. Poirier is favored in this matchup, and he's coming off a TKO win over Conor McGregor. But we know DuBronx is coming off 9 straight wins. So who is the champ when we talk to you next week?
Listen, I hate even trying to predict these things because we're talking about what we have that's closest to a gladiator sport. And, you know, at any moment, these fights change. Go back to Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler. But I'm going to go with Dustin Poirier. I said after he beat Conor McGregor the second time, I thought he was the best 155-pounder in the world. And I think he gets an opportunity to show this. He said there's 25 minutes to eternity. This is something that he's been working for since getting choked out by Khabib Nurmagomedov. He finally gets his opportunity. Charles DeBronx is going to be not only a willing participant, but a tough champion to beat. I think that Dustin Poirier gets him into the championship rounds where they're both hurting, where they're both fatigued, and he finds a way to put him out late in the fight, and he gets that belt around his waist.
All right, should be a good one. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Go enjoy your Friday.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.